Okay, we're going to continue on with shared instruction, specifically in reading. So we looked at modeled instruction. Now shared instruction. This is the teacher models high support, but now the demonstration is shared with the student. So the student in a shared instruction time needs to be able to see the text, and they are starting to now on this journey here to into more independent practice, and doing understanding the concepts more on their own. Okay, so shared instruction in reading. So during shared instruction, when you are teaching this, is what happens is the students follow along in the text while the teacher reads it aloud. So this is where they actually either have their own copy of the book, or they can see it up on your smartboard, or you have like a big book. This is where big books are really great for, especially K-2. They kind of like those big books. And it's important that they can actually see the text. Students follow along and focus on the specific concept or skill. So whatever you had done in your modeled reading, they're thinking now about that specific skill. So if you talked about a specific strategy, using the pictures as clues, as a clue for the word, then that's what you would focus on in shared reading. Teacher uses, again, that think aloud strategy. Oh, I wonder what would happen here. I don't know what this word means. Okay, so that. Teacher scaffolds. You know what scaffolding is. Figures out where the kids are at and then how to move them forward, and encourages social interaction. So this is usually shared instruction, and modeled instruction are usually on the carpet. These are usually full class events so that everybody's together. And students experience more difficult texts and concepts than they could if they were reading or writing on their own. So this does not have to be at the reading level, but so they can jump into books that they might not be able to read on their own. I'm going to read you some facts about shared instruction from one of my favorite authors, Reggie Routman. And she writes, the benefits of shared instruction include, it is a springboard for class conversation because everyone has read or written the same text. It can be used when teaching all content areas, so again, math, science, social, or all content areas of language arts. It takes learning beyond watching and listening to modeled instruction to where students have a more active role. So they're more actively involved. And teachers can really observe what each learner is able to do. So in this time where they're starting to interact more with the text, you can really see who's getting it, who's not, who's going to need some work on particular concepts. Okay, so I keep adding just on. There we go. The role of the teacher during the shared reading time. So this is, again, the teacher reads the text, demonstrating phrased and fluent reading. So if you might have read it in model time, done some think alouds, and now you might read it again in the shared reading time. You pause on each page to discuss key points. So the events in a narrative, the information in a factual text. So now you're starting to pick apart and focus on those key concepts that you are going after. Again, you use think alouds and engage the students and talk about the teaching points. Invite students to join in the reading if it is a text that's being revisited. So if they know the text, they can start to read along with it, and ask questions to students about the teaching point. So that's what's happening during the shared reading time, is the kids are a little bit more interactive with it. One way that you can do shared reading time is through choral reading. And this is just, I really like this. And I know that lots of you, when I asked about if you enjoyed, as an elementary student, if you enjoyed reading out loud on your own, and lots of you had really actually very negative memories of that, this alleviates that. So in choral reading, students read a section aloud in unison, so everybody reads it. And so you can also do echo reading, where the teacher reads a sentence or phrase and the students repeat back what the teacher says. So you can see this is they are seeing the text, they're hearing the text read by you, a fluent reader, and then they do it all in unison together. So can you see they're getting lots of repetition in hearing the text, and they're getting lots of repetition in trying out the strategies. According to Shorthorst and Burke, the unison rereading provides support for readers at different levels. So all of your readers are supported through choral reading. And texts with repetitive sections of rhyme lend themselves well to choral reading. They just like it. It's like a chorus in a song. You know, everybody kind of fumbles through the verse and then everybody comes in and sings the chorus. It's the same kind of thing when there's a repeated section for kids in there. Okay, so what I want you to do again is stop the video and go and watch these particular examples. I think these are about, you have about 5 or so minutes, 5-6 minutes of videos here. So go and watch these, it'll make more sense. I'm gonna keep the video rolling this time, but stop and watch these. You're back. All right, so we're going to go on into guided reading instruction. You can see again that we're moving down the teacher support. We're starting to get them to be more independent. I want to say now so I don't forget, oftentimes in teaching, we model our instruction. We say, okay, here kids, this is what I want you to learn today. And then we go directly into independent practice. Then we send them off to work on their own. What I love about this model is kids have a lot of time in shared and guiding instruction to hear the concept again, to try it out with colleagues and with you. So that's what I really like about this particular instructional model is we don't just talk to them, tell them the concept, and then send them away, because the kids who need more practice don't get it. And then what do during independent time? They mess around, they're confused, they get in trouble, they get behind. And so this structure really helps those kids who just need to hear it, hear the concept, be part of it with other people, that social interaction, have the teacher work a little bit tighter with them, and then they ultimately get to independent practice. So guided instruction, this is where you're going to do small groups. So you are going to, based on your assessment of where the kids are at in modeled and shared time, you will then pull small groups. And these small groups are variable. So you may find that you have a couple kids who really need to work on some basic reading skills. And then once they're done that, then they could be with other kids. So these are variable groups. These are not like low, middle, high reading groups that stay the same the whole year. They are very malleable. So keep that in mind. This, according to Fontes and Pinnell, and you heard me talk about them in 371, they're kind of the big kahunas of balanced literacy, and they have lots and lots of pre-made resources. And I think we talked about that in 371, where there's definitely some pros because it's all done, but there's definitely some cons to using those kind of resources. But they are the sort of the gurus of leveled readers. This is the only time in all of this process where you would use a leveled reader, because you're trying to help the child at a specific reading level. So this is the time when you would pull, if you feel like your student is at an H level and they need to be at an N level, this is where you would start and then move them through those levels. Okay, so just wanted to let you know that. Okay, so guided reading compared to traditional reading groups. Again, I'm not going to read this all to you. Take a minute, just pause the video, just take a minute and read through this. But what the main point is, traditional reading groups are not the same as guided reading groups. So take a minute, read through that. Did you read through it? Hope you did. Okay, let's go on to, and you go, well, how can I work? How can I work with 3 or 4 students at a time when I only have X amount of minutes? This is a primary grade 45-minute guided reading block. So you have your language arts time. Remember, your language arts time is 95 minutes per day in Alberta. in Alberta. So this whole instructional strategy is saying that you would have about 45 minutes of guided reading time, and then all the rest would be outside. And I have a schedule at the end of this so you can see the whole thing. Basically, you have them for 15 minutes. So you'd have group 1. I'm going to go back to my little pencil here just because it's super fun. Okay, so you'd have group 1 on Monday for 15 minutes, and then on Tuesday for 15 minutes, and then on Thursday for 15 minutes. So you would see your kids in small groups 3 times a week, 15 minutes. This is sacred time. This is when you cannot be interrupted, and you must be super organized in this time. You got to pinpoint exactly what you want to work on and then go after it. Right? Go after it. You've got 45 minutes of really, really amazing learning time when you can differentiate for those kids and make it happen. Okay, so then we have, if you're in Div 2, so grade 4 to 6, then you would see them twice a week, but you would see them for 20 minutes per group. So group 1 would be Monday and then on Wednesday. But again, it has to be like lightning sharp in what you are doing in that particular time, because it is amazing. It's amazing time. Okay, so you're going, yeah, but what is the rest of the class doing while I'm doing guided reading? While I got my head down with these 3 or 4 kids, what are the rest of the class doing? They're working on tasks and activities connected to your mini lesson or what you modeled, your little mini lesson that you did, and what the concept that you're modeling. So they might have a listening center. They might be able to work at the smartboard, board games, big books, working with words, independent reading, writing, journals, drama center, or they might be able to use some kind of technology. Do you have to work hard at setting this up? Yes, right? You have to work hard at setting them up, but these kids, they need to learn how to be independent. That's part of schooling, is that they cannot have you all the time. And you need to say that to them, that this is sacred time. And unless you're bleeding, I don't want you to disturb me in my guided reading time, because it is so important. And if you say stuff like that, and if you're tough with them about behavior, this is amazing time. I've seen some just amazing things happening. Student teachers have done this and made it work. So keep this in mind, that this is what the rest of the kids are doing. Okay, so again, I have some examples. I want you to just stop and watch this video. It's about a 3-minute video on guided reading. And if you want more info on guided reading, you can go to this particular PowerPoint. It's quite good. It just gives you a little bit more information. So stop the video, go watch, and I'll see you back momentarily. Welcome back. All right, here we go. This is the final part of this instructional strategy, is the independent practice in gradual release of responsibility model. So we're at the bottom. Ultimately, this is where we want our kids to be. We want our kids to be independent readers. And so we go through the modeled reading to teach them how to read, to teach them how to be fluent, to teach them comprehension skills and vocab, all of those things that we know are the foundations of an ELA program. And then we help them get there, ultimately with the hope that they will be independent readers. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So benefits of independent reading, I think you know this. Independent readers engage with favorite books, genres, topics, writing styles, and authors. They develop habit of spending a lot of time reading. They process a large number of texts. They learn about themselves as readers, and they become part of a community of readers. This independent reading time needs to be own choice books. If you end up in a school where kids are only allowed to read the levels, that's where you want to have your own class library, your 1,500 books. Ultimately, 1,500 books. Start with 6 and go to 1,500. You gotta get books in kids' hands that they actually want to read, and not leveled readers. Yeah. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so let's look at text for independent reading. Again, leveled book, it can be a level book, but can be used, but the child must choose it. Very rarely will children choose the leveled books because there's just so much better. There's literature out there that's so much better than those leveled books. The leveled books are written for a purpose. They're not written for enjoyment or comprehension or theme. They're written for a level of reading. Independent reading text can include those used in shared reading, guided reading time. Like if a kid really is like, yeah, I want to read that green book that you just showed me, absolutely, let them read it. Independent reading text should include a range of books and texts of various forms and genres from which to choose. Again, if you have a child that's super into reading a dictionary, let them read the dictionary, right? Like anything that they will actually read. This is the time in independent reading where they should be doing this. And this is ultimately the goal of the modeled, shared, and guided instructional time, is for them to be able to independently read. Okay, I should not click there. Okay, text choice. This is one of my favorite videos. Why is it important for children to choose their own text for independent reading? Penny Kittle, I'm going to introduce you to her. She's just a wonderful teacher around reading and writing. And she has this is her YouTube that she took of her high school students, talking about how important it was for them to have choice in their reading and how allowing them choice really changed their identity as a reader. So again, stop. Actually, just go to the next. I'm going to finish off and then you can come back and watch this video. I just want to get to here, but don't skip this video. It's great. It's a great video. So I keep just adding dots. Okay, here we go. So this is kind of the overall concept of this instructional strategy. So a literacy block is you do your modeled and shared instruction with the whole class, 5 to 15 minutes. Look how short that is. So no long half-hour descriptions of what's going on. Very pointed, very specific. What exactly do you want your kids to learn? That's why you have to know these outcomes so well. What do you want these kids to learn? And then get to it. You got 5 to 15 minutes to do modeled and shared reading. Then you go into guided instruction, that sacred time, that 15 minutes where the other kids are working independently, and then the rest are doing some independent practice or independent reading at this point. Okay, and that's about 30 to 60 minutes. Again, if you're in grade 1, you probably want to start with them having some independent time, maybe like 10 minutes, and then you build up their stamina over the year. And then you do a closure with the whole class again, sharing reflection and consolidation of learning. You bring it back together, about 5 to 10 minutes. You say, we were taught what we were talking about, picture clues. What did you learn about using picture clues today? And then you have a real pointed, laser focused idea of how to pull that learning together. Okay, so that is the modeled, shared, guided, independent instructional strategy for reading. Hope you enjoyed. Go back and watch the video. It's awesome.